Good evening and welcome to the Common Council for September 10th, 2013. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Williams.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Fernsler.
Here.
Anderson.
Present.
Hanson.
Here.
Jarvis. Sedlacek.
Present.
Markham.
Here.
Let the record show we have a quorum for our Common Council meeting. Next item is the pledge. Please stand. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of a list of items for consideration on the consent agenda. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved, Alder Markham. Second, Alder Anderson.
We have a first and a second to approve the list of items for the consent agenda. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Markham.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Jarvis. Hanson.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Item 4 is the audience portion where we ask people to sign in and be recognized by the chair. This is where you get to do the talking and we get to do the listening. Tonight, we have two people that signed up. First one is Charlie Hanson. Charlie?
Good evening. I thought she would be here tonight, but she is not. I talked to her earlier today. Talking about Karen Showerman. If you've driven or walked over the bridge by the dam and you see those beautiful flower pots there and the beautiful flowers in there, well, Karen Showerman, who works in the building inspector's office with her husband Pete, has planted those, watered them, maintained them. Matter of fact, yesterday I was coming down to a meeting and she was bringing water up from the river to water the plants. So I just want to give her recognition because she bought, paid for them, and maintained them. So thank you, Karen.
Sounds good, thank you. Do we charge her for the river water by chance?
She's going to give you a bill, Mayor, for doing it.
Those are certainly, many people have had comments about the flower boxes on the bridge, and that's a very nice addition. Thank you. And the next person that signed up is Donna Hahn. Donna?
Good evening, Mayor Pullman, council members. I'm here to ask permission to have the street closed on North Street for our Plymouth Oktoberfest, which is coming up actually next weekend already. It's fall. And I have our poster along with me to show you the great bands that we have this year. And we're going to have the GFWC's Plymouth Women's Club bake sale again on Saturday. So I hope that you'll all come down and enjoy some music and some bakery and some great food and just having fun in downtown Plymouth. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If you have an extra poster, you can leave one in the clerk's office. Good, thank you. Again, we appreciate people coming in and talking to the council and telling us some of the things that are going on that your interest is. We encourage you to continue to do that. Next item on the agenda, we have a proclamation, POW MIA Recognition Week, and I would ask Clerk Huberty to please read the proclamation, and then we'll entertain a motion.
Whereas, since its founding, the United States has fought in numerous wars and military actions, and tens of thousands of Americans, including a great many from Wisconsin, who were captured or were missing in action. And whereas many American prisoners of war were subjected to brutal and inhumane treatment by their enemy captors in violation of international codes and customs for the treatment of prisoners of war, and many such prisoners of war died while in captivity. And whereas the people of the city of Plymouth recognize that its sacrifices of all American prisoners of war and those who are still missing in action and their families are deserving of special tribute, Now therefore be it resolved that Donald Pullman, Mayor of the City of Plymouth, hereby proclaims the week of September 20th through September 27th, 2013 as POW MIA Recognition Week. He calls upon all citizens of the city to join him in observing this week with appropriate remembrance and activities.
Thank you. The Chair will entertain a motion to approve the proclamation.
So moved.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Tonight we have with us Jim Riesenberg and Paul Rimfire. We'd like you to come forward and fill us in a little bit, and you can certainly take this and take it back to the post and tell us about the POW MIA recognition, and then our festivities on Friday morning,
You want all that tonight?
if you have time.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Pullman and members of the Common Council. The purpose of this week is to make the American public aware of their moral obligation to support those men and women who serve to protect us, and also to hold the government accountable for the unaccounted for, that number being just over 83,000. In my 21 years as a Veterans Benefits Counselor, I very seldom went to a gathering or presentation without speaking to the issue, simply because I felt at that time it was important. It's still important today. Every now and then someone would ask, well, you know, my uncle was lost in Tarawa, we never found him, or someone was shot down over Yugoslavia, or something like that, or missing in Vietnam. How do we find out where they're at? Well, there's a government office in Washington, D.C., a couple thousand men and women who all day, every day, that's all they do is search and research and follow up and do positive identification when possible. I think you'll all agree that the medical profession has advanced more probably in the last 5 minutes than it did in the last 5 years, thereby making the DNA process a little more complicated, a lot more thorough, and a lot more complete. The challenges that these field groups face when they travel to foreign countries to search for remains are many. In such places as the Chosin Reservoir, and there, if there's that much square vacant land, it's probably used for life or livelihood. You get into parts of Cambodia and Laos and Thailand, the acidic level in the soil is high enough that it dissolves airplane parts over time. So you can just about imagine what it would do to any human remains that might be there. And I've oftentimes referred to these to small black and white lapel pin, or the flag that will be flying the week of the 20th to the 27th, as a beacon of hope for those who are the next of kin of the unaccounted for. And that worked, because last year, in 2012, over 100 families did receive a degree of closure when remains that were unearthed or positively identified and returned for a fitting burial. I think most of us have been on this planet long enough to know that for the majority of them, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your point of view and how you look at things, closure will only come when we get to that big table beyond the sunset. Again, thank you for your support of this presentation, and we look forward to seeing you on the morning of the 20th at 8 o'clock. We start at 8 o'clock. It doesn't last usually more than 10 minutes unless somebody gets long-winded. So if you get there at 10 after 8, you're probably going to miss everything. Again, on behalf of myself, the American Legion, the VFW, and most importantly, the families of the unaccounted for, thank you for your support.
Thank you very much, Jim. And that's the 20th at 8 o'clock at the city flagpole right on the corner outside of City Hall. We appreciate all of the veteran service and their families and what they've gone through and the sacrifices that they've made on behalf of all of us in America. Moving on, item 6 is a consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion.
So move, Alder Nelson.
Second, Alder Anderson.
We have a first and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Jarvis?
Yes.
Hernsler?
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Item 7 is not needed. Item 8, new business, discussion and action regarding claim against the city from State Farm Insurance in the amount of $3,972.64. I'll ask Clerk Huberty to read the opinions from our council, please.
This is from Tom Mann of Civmec Insurance. I am in receipt of the above claim in which State Farm has filed a claim on behalf of the insured Lynn Gerondale in the amount of $3,972.64. Based on the information that I have received, it would be my recommendation that the city settle this matter for damages claimed by State Farm. According to the police report, the street sweeper made a U-turn and struck the claimant vehicle in the rear while stopped at a stop sign. I do also note that the driver factors against the city driver were inattentive driving. Since the other vehicle was stopped at the time of the accident, the driver did nothing to have caused or contributed to the damage. As such, I recommend that the city settle this for $3,972.64. I would suggest that a release of all claims be sent to State Farm, and upon receipt of the signed release, issue payment for the damages claimed. And I will also note that City Attorney Crystal Feber was consulted on this claim, and she agreed with the opinion of Tom Mann.
Good. Thank you, Clerk Huberty. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the claim in the amount of $3,972.64 as recommended by our council.
So moved, Alder Anderson. Second, Alder Markham.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Sedlacek,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Fernsler,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Jarvis.
Motion carried, thank you. Item B, discussion and action regarding claim against the city from Jeff and Angela Putz in the amount of $188. Clerk Huberty?
Again, this is the opinion of Tom Mann from Civmec on August 22nd. I am in receipt of the above claim that has been filed against the city of Plymouth in the amount of $188 for damages as a result of a sewer backup. As you are aware, sewer backups are specifically excluded from coverage under the Civmec policy, and as such, there is no coverage for this claim or any other claim associated with this event. As you are aware, municipalities are held to a standard of reasonable care, and the courts have determined that reasonable care is to have a maintenance program in effect, comply with the established maintenance program, and take corrective action within a reasonable amount of time once the municipality is aware that there is a problem. According to the claimant, employees told the claimant that this area had been a problem in the past. I would suggest that you check with your sewer department to find out whether you are complying with your maintenance agreement and whether or not this is a problem area. If this is a problem area, the city should be inspecting this area more frequently than the regular inspection program. I would also suggest that you check to see the cause of the backup. If this backup was caused by something put in your system by another person, the city cannot be held responsible for actions of others. If this backup was caused by roots, did the city have notice that this area had a problem with roots? And is this area being inspected more frequently to check for roots? If the city is complying with the maintenance program and had no prior notice of a defect, it would be my recommendation that this claim be denied. However, if the city is not complying with the maintenance program and has had notice of a problem and failed to take corrective action within a reasonable amount of time, consideration should be given to settling this matter.
Director Amick,
No.
or
Sure.
do you want to respond?
I did talk to the sewer guys who were notified of this incident, and it sounds like the homeowner had a problem with their sewer. They called a plumber. He cleaned out the line, and then the next day it backed up again, and nobody ever called the office to tell us that there was a problem. So the possibility is that whatever they pushed out of their lateral just kind of dropped right down in front of it, and it backed again, up against the next day. And that day, we did come over and we jetted the line, and everything was open. So our belief is that, you know, we do know about this area, we do maintain it, and that this claim should be denied. So, any questions?
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion so we can discuss.
I move to deny the claim.
Second, Alderman Sedlacek.
We have a first and a second to deny the claim in the amount of $188. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Zlachek?
I guess I'm not quite sure if I understand where that this area has had a problem in the past. What
Bill,
type
you
of a
wanna-
problem, I guess?
Pardon me?
Well, it says the two city employees came and checked the main sewer line and determined that it needed to be hydrojetted. They informed us that the sewer system on Carpenter Street has been a problem in the past. What kind of a problem, I guess, is what I'm wondering.
Well, I'm not 100% sure of the details, but there are areas in the city where the sewer lines are flatter, and you don't get the flow that you need really to clean them out, so that we do jet them. We have certain areas in the city that we jet a quarter of the city every year, and there are certain areas we jet every year. And this is probably one we jet every year, simply because we know that there have been, you know, problems in these areas, but typically that takes care of it. It is not the belief that there was any problem with the main when it backed up. There were roots in the lateral, and they cleaned them.
Okay.
And then when they cleaned them, they push them out into the main.
Okay.
And then they sit there, and then it backs up again. If someone would have called us when it was first backed up, you know, we could have worked with the plumber to make sure that wouldn't happen, and we will, but that didn't happen. We weren't notified until it backed up again. And then
Gotcha.
we did inspect it, and we did get it cleaned so that it wouldn't be happening again.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, may I also make
Yes.
a comment? I also think that the language in the claim and what our employees do not exactly match up. The comment is more like this: has there ever been a sewer blockage on any main in this area? Well, sure there has. That doesn't necessarily mean that there is a record of a continuous problem and that we haven't provided any maintenance on that main. We clearly have in the past. So I think that that comment is different from what the Putes have in their claim form. So does that make sense, or?
Yes.
Alderman Williams?
So, Bill, you're saying that we, as per the letter from Tom Mann, we have a corrective maintenance program that is going out there, so we meet that criteria then? Okay. And I see that the invoice attached here is for $376, but they're only applying for $188. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Any idea why they are doing the 188? Are they just one instance, even though they had two occurrences?
I believe it's because they believe that the first instance was not the fault of the city. It was roots in the line from the house to the road. So they cleaned that, as I said, that debris was laying in the main, and that's what caused the second one. And they're saying, well, we got it to the main, it should have gone away, so you pay for, you know, the second time. It's kind of a half the bill kind of thing.
But had we known, we would have done something.
Yeah, had we known from the get-go, the very first, when they called the plumber, you know, we could have worked with them to make sure that, you know, if they got the lateral working and, you know, we could have watched to make sure that the main was still flowing.
Okay.
Alderman,
Well,
No,
then
sir.
it would be logical that the main was flowing correctly before.
That's correct.
The event.
Yes.
So it was not the
Yeah,
fault
there
of the
was no
city at that time.
backups down the downstream or upstream
Okay.
until they cleaned their line. Okay.
any other questions? Thank you, Bill. Clerk will call the roll.
Fernsler,
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Item C, discussion and possible action regarding using contingency funds to pay off the 2012 squad car loan from Bank First in the amount of $28,000 plus interest. Administrator Yurgis, you want to give us some background on that, and then we'll entertain a motion?
You have a memo in front of you that outlines it, but you may recall a couple years ago, we decided to borrow on a short-term basis some funds for some squad car purchases. That loan payment was paid out over 3 payments that are due February 2013, February 2014, and February 2015. Last April, I talked with the Finance and Personnel Committee on potentially using contingency funds to pay that debt off. And at the time, the committee said, let's take a look at it in September to see where we're at with the use of the contingency fund. And if we haven't spent a lot of the contingency funds, we would recommend that we pay it off at that time. So here we are in September, and the request is to move forward with paying that loan off, which will be essentially $28,000 plus a little bit of interest. The loan is at 2.05%. Obviously, funds we have in the bank, we're not getting 2% interest on. But the other thing is this helps us in our tax levy calculation in that our debt service part of the tax levy will decrease by $14,300, and at the same time, the net new construction number is about $16,800 some dollars. So it helps balance things out if we pay it off prior to next year's budget.
Thank you. So the recommendation would then be to go ahead and pay it off.
That was what I defer to
Yes.
Chairperson
Yes,
Markham.
that's the recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved, Alder Markham.
Second, Alderman Olson.
We have a first and a second to pay off the, from contingency funds, $28,000 on Bank First plus accrued interest. Any other discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Nelson,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Jarvis. Markham.
Yes.
Fernsler,
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Item D, discussion and possible action regarding bid for County E and County PP bike lane project. Director Emig, you want to give us some summary on that, please?
This project is adding bicycle lanes on County Trunk Highway E from Larkspur Lane or Road or whatever it is to County Trunk Highway PP, and then along PP from Highland Avenue to Highway 57. This was bid, I want to say, probably a month ago. And the bids came in, the low bid was Northeast Asphalt for $304,000, $262.95, and that was 21% higher than the engineer's estimate. So originally, there was some discussion about rebidding it, maybe rebidding it next spring, see if we could get a better price. After reviewing the engineer's estimate, their price for the liquid asphalt was, their price and the estimate was like $180 and a ton, and the bid price was like $450, and that was the 21% of the whole bid, basically. And the going rate nowadays is the 450. So after some discussions, it was determined that if we rebid it, we didn't think we would get a lower price, and that we would award the bid to Northeast Asphalt for $304,262.95. This project is part of that non-motorized transportation funds. The city will front the money, and as we pay the contractor, then the county pays us back. So I would recommend that you do award the contract to Northeast Asphalt for the $304,000. On a little extra note on this project, this week I've had discussions with Greg Schnell, the county transportation director, and talked to him about repaving the road prior to or as they're doing the bicycle lanes. If you've been over to Falls, you've seen they've added some lanes on some older roads, and it just doesn't seem to be working really good. Part of the problem was that a lot of these projects were applied for, 5, 6, 7 years ago, and they're finally being built. So the roads have deteriorated. So I've been working with Northeast Asphalt to get a price to pulverize the whole road and repave it with the added bicycle lane. After getting a preliminary number, it isn't finalized yet, but it does look like the county will pick up that cost. It may be under $25,000, so it's kind of a no-brainer. The tricky part is whether we can get the state to let us to do that, because we bid bicycle lanes and now we want to change this whole thing to pulverizing and paving. So we'll be working with them on that. But at the end of the day, I would recommend that we do award the contract. As I said, it's the non-motorized funds, and it'll add some bike lanes that can get people to the idea is to get them out to the industrial park where Pilgrim Road is, and you can cross the highway and get out to, the east side industrial area. So, any questions?
Bill, are you asking us to approve the bicycle lanes, or?
No,
or
you're
the whole
awarding the
thing?
contract for the project.
For the whole 304.
Right.
Okay.
Didn't you get anything on this?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Just- Okay,
Okay, I'm sorry.
all right.
It all kind of happened when I was gone, and then it was like, we aren't going to award it, and I was like, well, we can award it. So I think we should, and we'll hopefully get it done yet this year. If not, it'll happen next spring. Yes,
Is,
Alderman Nelson.
is county planning, have they been notified that the bid is higher than,
Right, we've been
Yes,
working
yes,
with planning, the county planning
so-
department, ever since we got the bids.
so they're
They're the ones that have
aware-
recommended that we just award it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they're certainly aware of this.
And then,
Alderperson
now you were
Jarvis.
talking about, which roads are you gonna be pulverizing, both
Just
E and
E.
PP?
Just E, not PP.
Okay.
That's in much worse condition than PP.
So just the stretch of PP where.
Right where the
whole-
curb and gutter ends out to
Okay.
PP.
And it'll be wider there then?
Yes, it'll be,
It'll be
I
as
believe
wide
it's
as the-
22 feet, and that'll be 5 feet wider on each side.
Great. I move to approve the Northeast Asphalt bid of $304,262.95 for the County E and County PP bike lanes.
Second, Alder Markham.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Hanson,
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Sedlacek,
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes,
Fernsler.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Bill, for working on that. You can stay right there and we'll
I am.
pick you up on the next one. Discussion and possible approval on hiring of a water operator. And Director Emig, you
Okay,
can comment on
the
that.
situation over with the water department is that when I kind of took over earlier this year, one of our water operators kind of told me right from the get-go that he was planning on retiring in November. So it was last week sometime, I talked to him and said, I've got some paperwork, you know, I need you to get signed so that I get this thing official, and we can kind of figure out what direction we're gonna go. Well, then the water foreman was in on the discussion with me, and his comment was, well, I'm thinking I'm going to leave in November too. And when I originally talked to the water foreman, I was aware that he was thinking of retiring. I had thought, I know he had told me in February. So when he said November, I went, whoa. And so I talked to Brian, and however it plays out, we need to get the approval to get this thing moving. So I'm recommending that that you approve the hiring of a water operator. If you remember earlier this year, we is it promoted, or anyway, Doug Knoll shifted over from the tree trimming crew and is becoming a water operator. He will be replacing one of the retirees, and we have 2 retirees coming up. So this position would be advertised, trying to find somebody with with a water operator's license that has some experience that can kind of work with Doug.
So you start the process then?
Yes, we'll get the process going if we can get this approved.
Okay, thank you. Director Jurgens?
Yeah, just to add to that, you know, obviously both of the employees are having discussions with the employee trust funds and looking at on their pension and retirement accounts. And so if something changes on their end and one of them decides not to retire, then we would not be filling the water operator position. But we don't want to be caught in a position where we finally get something in writing and they're done November 1st, and then it takes another month to get it approved to begin the hiring process. So this is kind of a fluid situation that Director Emick is asking for some flexibility in hiring a water operator if things end up being confirmed that they're both leaving at the same time later this year.
We've been having discussions with them, we've been having discussions with other staff, trying to make a plan for how things are going to proceed once one or both leave, so it's interesting, but we'll make it work, so.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved, Alder Anderson.
Second, Alder Markham.
We have a first and a second to approve the process of hiring a water operator as indicated. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Anderson.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Next item, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move, Alder Hanson.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.